Check out Navin Lalo Streaming Network for all your streaming needs. We provide multiple angles, video and photo slides, clean audio, recording a full live stream. Contact us at 335-0205. Remember the name, Navin Lalo Streaming Network, bringing real-time events to you.
For all your live events, make sure to choose Swanky Lights, where we specialize in all your lighting needs. Contact us at 358-9305. Swanky Lights.
Is a vessel, and he rides upon the storm. Rides upon the storm. Rides upon the storm. Jesus Christ is a vessel, and he rides upon that storm. We are sailing, sailing home. Sailing, sailing, sailing home. Sailing, sailing home. Jesus Christ is a vessel. Is a vessel, and he rides upon
family members, friends, relatives, all those gathered and associated with Roger Ogun Imhotep Vialva. I wish to announce that it is now 1 p.m. It is the time that we are scheduled to begin, but this is not only done for the spirit of those that have departed, but it is also being done for human beings as well. So I ask your indulgence so that we may have 15 minutes. I'm taking this opportunity to say this on behalf of Akbar Daye, the father of Imhotep, just to let us, just wait a little while, and perhaps maybe myself and a colleague here might just play a little drum interlude that we already did a little earlier, but we might just do a little bit so that we can keep ourselves in a vibration. Thank you very much.
Walk on top with sweet Jesus. Calvary below. Hey, children, help me, help me, help me. Oh, Jesus. Hey, Lord. Children of faith, come let me go, come let me go. them no more. Carry them no more. Carry them no more. I said to carry them no more. Carry them no more. Carry them no more. Yes, yes, yes. My soul say yes, yes, yes. My soul say yes, Lord. My soul say yes.
Awon Agbawa, Awon Babawa, Ati Yawa, Awon Arakoringwa, Ati Arabiringwa, Awon Omodewa, Ekabo, Alafia. Trinidad and Tobago is conceived of as a two-island polity where, according to our national anthem, here, every creed and race find an equal place. We are a multi-ethnic society that is comprised, so from the very words of the anthem, we would expect that there are more than one race living in Trinidad and Tobago. That's why every creed and race could find an equal place. And that some of these different races may in truth and in fact express their concerns of life and their obligations to supreme love, supreme light, supreme intelligence in different and varying ways, but they are all equally respected in the island called Trinidad and Tobago. On behalf of the family of Roger Ogun Imhotep Vialva, I would like to welcome everyone and proceed with this afternoon's ritual. I suspect that most of us are aware that simply because we are under pandemic medical protocols, these activities don't take as long as sometimes they might take in other situations and circumstances. And therefore, if you find me running a little fast, it is because I'm trying to work within the constraints of the time allotted to us. So you could always guide me over there. But as far as I'm aware, I think by 2 o'clock we were supposed to be completed with this part of the ritual. It's already 1:15. And I am just going to say this, I have functioned in different spaces and places where some people during this ritual, the body is, the top of the coffin is open and the face is exposed. But I've also worked where it is closed and, at the end of the service, it is opened so that people could view the body. But some places they actually close the coffin and they now carry it down to the front of the place and they open up. So I did not, although I myself when I came earlier, they opened it and that I could see and so on. But I told them I don't know what the wishes of the family are. So whatever it is, close is all right for me because nobody's looking there now. But when we finish, we could begin, right? So so thank you very much for this short offering and opening. Okay. Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. It doesn't matter. It's the both ways. I could work with this all ways. The first thing is called the welcome of the body. And some funerary parlors are differently oriented to this. So sometimes the body comes in there, but sometimes it might come out from a little place inside the parlor where we are able to do it. Okay, so let me, while people are yet coming in, let me just say a few things. This rite we are going to do, although I myself am a priest of Orisha tradition and I'm a chief in Yoruba land, and therefore, and in the particular area that I am the chief, I am a chief with authority, not only in the geopolity of Trinidad and Tobago, but all over the world. So we are going to do some of these things by ritual gesture. The first thing we need to do is welcome the body. Now, I'm just going to say this, Vialva himself may not have been initiated into certain societies of Yoruba secret science practice or Al-Kibulani's practice. And if you hear me using the word Al-Kibulan, it is another word for the continent of Africa. But in welcoming his body here, we must note, and in following this ritual here, because I'm almost sure not everybody is too well acquainted with Al-Kibulani's transitional rites. And so that's why I want to take my time in a way that everybody will think. But the first thing to do is to welcome the body. But we are going to welcome this with one of the elements of life, and it is called water, Umi Tutu. And I know, even here it's difficult to work the right way because I'm supposed to put some of my breath here, right? So we reconsecrate this water and make it as pure and holy as the waters of Odo Hapi, so Ashe, Odo Adbara, Odo Zambezi, Odo Limpopo, Odo Luanda, Odo Kweza, Odo Valencia, Odo Orinoco, Odo Homewards, Odo Miriam, all the sacred rivers in the land of Trinidad and Tobago and in the Americas, North and South, but particularly those in the Southern America, and of all the sacred rivers, including Odo Yemoja, Odo Oshun, in the continent of Africa, to welcome the spirit once again from wherever it is in the current moment so that it could convene with us. So by rituals that would allow for opening. I'm going to say one other little song, and I know most of these things are supposed to be participatory, right? But unfortunately, we underwent. Oh, sorry, I forget the people who live streaming. I try to remember that is a different process. One of the things is that most Al-Kibulani's rituals are community-based and therefore participatory in their nature, right? But because he carries such a powerful name, some people know this very powerful name I'm going to call, and some people, some of you might even have some ugly images of that name, Imhotep, the grand vizier, the grand sage, the grand architect, the one who helped to bring mathematics and plenty things that the world now function on in the days of ancient Kemet or Egypt. He carried the name of Imhotep. And therefore, I think I owe him to sing one song from that type of tradition, right? So I will sing it by myself, but anybody who wants to try, because the word's not hard, right? It goes, Shechem, Shechem. And if you want to try it with me now, Shechem, 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 Nijeru, Tepu, Nijeru, Tepu, Shechem, 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 Apwat Pu, Anpu Pu, Oset Pu, Oset Pu, Oset Pu, Asharu Pu, Asharu Pu, Asharu Pu. Asher. So welcome one and all on this occasion of celebrating the life of Roger Ogun Imhotep Vialva. And I want to, even though I did not know him plenty on the physical realm, but I want to consider him a friend, a brother, and a family. And I want to read a few things that I would have written on this occasion here. You have to excuse me, I'm a podium. Eh? Podium is just as they give it to me, right? Like if I lost the page where I was supposed to be here, but that's okay. So, in opening these things, I would say Alafia. And in trying to make sense of what we are doing here today, human beings have not 100% reconciled themselves with transition. Trinidad and Tobago and the African population in Trinidad and Tobago had an experience that I call the 1970 Black Power Uprising or Revolution. And in that situation, Adaye, the father of Imhotep, was one of those persons who made conscious effort to redefine and to rescript the narrative of the Al-Kibulanis or African person in the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. So I begin by saying our life on this earth is one of transition. At one period of our lives, we were non-material. In some instances, human beings yearned to perpetuate themselves, and the thought of tyranny manifested. Later, these thoughts became words, and through verbal and oral communication, the words became action, and child became manifest. What we know as human beings were in two separate bodies as ova and sperm. Through sexual action, sperm left its abode in the male and swam up the fallopian tube, united with one ovum, and the beginnings of a human being was initiated. I know that many of us here today are of the opinion that we are born human beings, born male and born female. Yet, to many cultures, the being that is born has to be cultured and become human. The circumstances into which we were birthed and the parents to whom we were birthed also colors our life's perspectives and impact upon our destiny. Right? So I would pause in between what I have to say there, and I would ask us to sing with me a little bit. I mean, it's a little strange here, but Trinidad, sometimes we hear, Bismillah, Rahman, Muhammad Rasul Allah. And even though we don't identify with it, we don't feel uncomfortable. I may go someplace and somebody may say Namaskar or Namaste, and we don't feel difficult. And in an older time, somebody used to say, Sanctus Rectus Spiritus, oh. But even when I was in that time, sometimes I know what to answer, but it used to sound like it used to be always Amen. I used to say, Amen. I never felt uncomfortable with it. So I want us to sing a little song together, but I can't take long because we have a short time. So it's to call all the spirit beings together, right? Babalorisha, Mojuba, 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 oh. Babalorisha, Mojuba, 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 oh. Babalorisha, Mojuba, Mojuba, oh. Babalorisha, Mojuba, okay. Again, the officials here, please, right? Because I know some of the protocols are saying. So, do we have until 3 or until 2? Until 3? All right, so now I could stretch myself out, because, you know, I don't want to break any of the protocols now, right? So I just want to make sure. All right, so let's try that one more time again. Babalorisha, Mojuba, I will say Mojuba, Mojuba, ho. Babalorisha, Mojuba, Eshuleba, Mojuba, ho. Babalorisha, Mojuba, Laroye, Mojuba, ho. Babalorisha, Mojuba, Ogun mojuba o babalorisha mojuba orisha ńlá mojuba o babalorisha gbogbo orisha mojuba o babalorisha mojuba ayé. Right. So it is mojuba means to take leave and permission of somebody, and it is a declaration that what I am going to do now, I am not making it up. It was done sometimes several thousands of years ago, sometimes several millions of years ago. It was done the same way yesterday as I am doing it today. And the way that our ancestors did it yesterday, when they did it, they received blessings. They were not hurt. They didn't get cursed. They didn't get crippled. But so that when I do it today, I expect to be blessed. Just as they were blessed yesterday, I too, and all of us gathering here and participating in this ritual will be blessed. So Roger Ogun Imhotep Vialva was born in the glorious period of cultural reclamation by Alkebulanese persons. In these islands of proudly reclaiming our names and culture. His father, coming from a rural community, was impacted upon differently in his life than most citizens who lived in the urban areas of our land. It is generally accepted that most rural populations are more, so I should say rural for him and urban is the other way. In most rural populations, it is generally accepted that in most rural populations, the people there are more civil and socially polite than urban citizens. That is the people from the country now, let me say it that way, more polite and more decent and more loving plenty time all over the world than the people living in the towns, right? Okay, they are often more impacted upon by their natural environment, river, land, sea, trees, animal, and all that comprises their full cultural environment. With the 1970 Black Power uprising, Adaye answered the call of our ancestors and began a process of redefining his life and that of many in our society. He reclaimed his name. Adaye reclaimed his name. And that's a big step that most people mightn't see there. Many people call themselves today Uncle Unkulu. That's a big name they call themselves. But they call themselves plenty names, right? But if I had to pay them $1 million, I had to write Paul Charles, right? So to claim and reclaim your name legally is not only a step of resistance to an oppressive system that we inherited in Trinidad and Tobago, to which Adaye hoped that by his naming his son Ogu, a Lord of liberation, a Lord of opening portals and pathways to justice, and also added and multiplied the strength of his hope in the name Imhotep. It must have been more than a mere giving of a name. And so today when we celebrate here the life of Roger, I want us to consider that our lives as we live them are impacted upon by our own environment. We in Trinidad and Tobago inherited an environment where if you dress up like some of us here, and especially if you come and throw water and you ring bells or you put smoke about the place, all of these things was considered obia. And I'm just going to touch very gently on obia. Obia is doing something to receive an end that is not the thing to receive the end. Right? So you didn't study, but you want to pass your exam, and you go and light 2 candles up in a mountain by a church, and you put olive oil and blue candle or red candle and expect that the child didn't study and will pass. That is obia. The science of passing exams is to do your homework, do your studies, be diligent, and then go and write the exam. So anytime you twist the pipe the other of the way to close and expect it to open, if it's open, that would be obia. It is doing something outside of the norm. So some people wake up in the morning and they hold something to some light, and while it might be considered prayer or yuri, if you do certain things and you expect that alone, without the physical action that would lead to that, that is obia. So today we are here to pay respects to Ogun Imhotep Roger Vialva, and we hope that through this ritual, the family and all of us would appreciate his life. So with these short, again, because, immediately I reshape my mind to things, and I don't have much drummers, but I would do one song here before I go on to the next item on the agenda here, because even when we look like we have plenty time, the time just runs so fast sometimes that you can't believe that is the time that runs. So I would do one song here. Now again, for those who are accustomed to Yoruba type ritual, because again in our life, so I open by saying some things, and perhaps when you get an opportunity to meditate on it, you will see a little more than what I'm trying to say. I call this life a life of transition. Transition meaning is one thing one time. There's a tadpole yesterday, and then today there's a frog. That's a transition from one field and stage. But our life is like that. And so there are several transitions that take place. And our life have in Yoruba and African science systems, people have to initiate to get some things. You can't expect to know everybody. This is a long time. Boy, them people in law dragon train. But if you're going to ask them if they drag train, they wouldn't tell you. You can't know. If you want to know, come inside and drag train with us. Right? So in life, sometimes to know something, you have to be properly initiated. But all human beings, when they give up the ghost, when their last breath is breathed, and all of the elements disperse. So they are representative of the elements here at this moment. We don't use all in our tradition. In fact, my own group more work with land and water rather than fire and air. There are different groups who work in different ways of dispatching and sending the ancestral energies back to its place of origin. But whether you are initiated or not as a human being, we all deserve an honorable burial and an honorable send-off. So because his own Orisha was Ogun, and we only have two drummers where we have a set of drums to play three. We're going to ask you to work with us that we could get a little of it together, right? So for those who would like to join us, right, I know it kind of hard, I used to go to some of these I wasn't that. But the thing is, Krishna, 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 Rama, Rama, Hare, Hare. And I used to sing it too. But Trinidad, it's kind of feel out. So we sing it a little different how you would see it in La Palette. It's another West African style of singing it. Jogum kobodo ke yogun, jagun lumbu. Aso jogum kobodo ke yogun, jagun lumbu. Aso jogum kobodo ke yogun, jagun lumbu. Aso jogum kobodo ke yogun, jagun lumbu. So we move to the next item. And you know, it's always a challenge for us here. On this end, it's always a challenge for those of us on this end here in a perhaps unaccustomed environment with others having to sing. Because as I say, a lot of times this is participatory, but if you don't know the song, I can't expect you to sing it. And that's why I don't even sing long songs in these things. I try to take 2 words, and most of these words, you know, I could talk plenty sometimes. And I know a lot of big words for little things, right? But you see, the African language I speak in here now is the easiest thing in the world. The white people in defining this, they call it a monosyllabic language. If you have the word B-A-T-A-D-A, anybody could pronounce it. It's first syllable, ba, ta, da, ba, ta, da. If you put D-E again, ba, ta, da, di. Right? So every syllable is pronounced, and they don't have no diphthong and tritongues or anything. So no word is difficult. And most Yoruba words are made up of consonant and vowel. And of course, because words do mean plenty things to us, we really miss the power of the spoken word. But almost all scriptures claim that in the beginning is the word. And for those who come out from a Christian tradition, I don't know if they always interpreted it where the literal translation says, and the word is God, the word. And sometimes when they're spoken about the word, they're not spoken about the written word, but the uttered word. Because it is by uttering word into the fullness of the womb of the cosmos that all things became flesh. So I gave you a little example here, and I don't know if you understand that it was a big sexual cosmic engagement. I spoke about 2 different things, ovum and sperm living together separate, coming together in union. But that was really through word uttered into somebody's ears. The person's ear was receptive and their body responded, and the word became flesh, or became the human being that we know. So the mysteries that we often hide behind in some other theologies, we bring it open and we live it open, and hence some people perhaps can't even understand what kind of religion it is that people will be drinking punch and rum and blowing rum and throwing oil all over the ground. It is a good old-time religion. I say, thank you. So I call upon the Liselli, right? Yeah, got it right. I see you spell a little different. Liselli Vialva to bring the eulogy, please.
Oh gosh, I could rest it on top here. I could rest it on top here, thing. Yeah. Pleasant good evening, everyone. I just want to start by thanking everybody who came out to celebrate the life of a great man, Roger Vialva, aka Bones. So, for those of you who aren't familiar with me, my name is Liselli. I'm Roger's firstborn. I'm his oldest. And for those of you who do know me, you may probably know me as Jamelia J, or his favorite nickname for me, Lanit. Oh yeah, Chunky. This is probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, or probably will ever do. Actually spent days wondering if I'd have enough time, if I could write something good enough that would even give justice to the man that he was. You know, but what can I say about my dad? He was known as a father, he was a brother, an uncle, a mentor, a best friend, and sometimes a serious headache. Yeah, I know. He was by no means the easiest person to deal with.
at all. But for as long as I've known my father, he's been the same way, just really straightforward. He's one of those people that he won't speak to you unless he's spoken to first. He's ridiculously unfiltered. It doesn't matter if it's a friend, a coworker, a family member. If he has something to say, he is going to say it. He's not going to put water in his mouth to say anything. It may come across pretty harsh sometimes because he's a little rough, but you always know that it came from a good place. He was always really big in being firm in having principles and morals. I remember anytime I would go to him for advice on anything, school, work, friends, boys, he'd always make sure and tell me at the end of the conversation, Jay, remember this. In life, if you don't stand for anything, you'll fall for everything. If you don't stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything. And he was also a man of very little emotions. To see him cry or to see him sad was never something that he did. You never, it was kind of like a blue moon thing. Not even a blue moon, a green moon thing. It just was never something that we saw. He's the reason that I can actually stand here today and not be breaking down and rolling on the floor. That I can actually hold myself together now. He always taught us that. Strength and standing firm. Being vulnerable it's not something for the outside world to see, But the biggest part of him was definitely his soft spot for his family. He loved his family. He was the definition of a family man, He did love a good lime. He did love a good family lime. I remember bits and pieces of him telling me his childhood, and he would tell me how he used to go and steal rice and peas from Granny and go to have a cook down by the river and spend the day with my uncles and aunts and, anything that included spending time with family and seeing family happy just did everything for him, He was also a real ladies' man too. Serious ladies' man. He was smooth with it. He loved women. I'll never forget when he told me the story of how my parents actually met. So, well, as you know, that's my lovely mother there. My parents met in sometime in around September, October in 1999. And he was telling me he used to work taxi in Aruka. And mommy, I can't remember what mommy was working. She was working sales, I think. And he was telling me, he's like, girl, I remember I was working. I had now just dropped everybody down in the back and I was coming around to full the car again. But I was hungry, so I went and I stopped to get doubles. And while I stand up now enjoying my doubles, I turn to the side and I see this sweet darky coming here with she had a little kinky dread. At the time, I said, what? Who is this Rasta here, boy? He said, nah. He said, all right, here's what I'm going to do. So he turned, and while he eating the doubles now, he smiled and he winked at she. He said, yeah, that's the I she needs to get weak there. And it worked because, look, they've been together for over 20 years. So clearly he had to be doing something right, For every single family event. It could be a family event, it could be a normal lime, it could be a friend gathering. His presence was felt, If he was there, you would know that he was there. He was the life of the party if he wanted to be. It just had one problem, though. It had one problem. Everywhere he go, and I'm sure some of you gone, you know where I headed with this. Everywhere he went, he had to tell a joke. One single joke, his signature joke. So he'd go, and he'd gather everybody and get everybody attention. It's like, oh, I want to hear a real good joke, hear this, right? So a man went and painted his house grass green, and a cow eat it. And he'd sit there rolling. Nobody could tell him that wasn't funny. He believed that was the best joke it had since jokes was ever invented. And it was so bad, like, it was awful. But that's actually one of the biggest things that I will remember from him now. You know, he was just a great guy in general. He really was. A lot of people misunderstood him and the way he used to think about things. And honestly, I can't blame anybody because even I didn't understand at a certain point. It's only really after I got older and our relationship got better, he actually started talking to me about stuff, and he wasn't scared to say, well, I don't want to talk to Jay about that. She's not ready for that yet. We actually had that conversation. Is when I actually understood what he was about, He was an amazing father. His children, we never had need for anything. Everything that we needed, we had, and everything that we wanted, we always got it. Even if it wasn't directly at that second, we always got what we wanted. Somehow, he always made it happen. He was a selfless man. Once he considered you, you automatically became family. It didn't matter. You could call him at 3 o'clock in the morning because you need bread or something, and he pelting on pants to head of the road. He going and find someone that's selling bread for you to come and feed you. Even if he didn't know you, you were just a person, he would give his last. He would give his last just if he knew that it was helping somebody else who needed it. Many people never got to see that side of him. And if you were lucky enough to know him long enough to experience his love, then you'd know that when I say he was a gem, he was a darling, I'm not lying, because he really was. Coming closer down to the end of his life, let's say about a year ago, he got really consumed with work. He was working all the time. He would work on working days. He would work on weekends. He would work on his off days. He would work extra duties. Some days I wouldn't even know when he reached home because by the time he gets home, it's way after 12. I already sleeping. And by the time I wake up, he already out and he gone. Some days we'd probably only know that he was leaving because every morning when he leaves, he gives me and my brother a kiss, a forehead kiss. And he says, I'll go into work. I'll see you all later. And sometimes you might wake up because you get kissed on your forehead, I can't be mad at him though, because I know that everything that he was doing, that he did, was towards a goal. I just wish things could have been a little bit different. If I had known that time was coming down so thin and we only had that amount of time, I'd have probably steal his work boots a little bit more and drag him in the car and go beach or something. So just he wouldn't have been working that much, because whenever he had his off days, we used to go beach. That was it. Every time we had to go out, it was always let me go beach. But I just hope that wherever you are, Dad, I hope you're here. I hope that you're seeing that you have people here that love you and that care about you. And I love you. I definitely do. My promise that all the hard work and the sacrifice that you put in to everything, to everyone, that it will not go in vain. I really do promise that. You may be gone now, but your memory will never be forgotten. I love you. Thank you.
Okay, so for those of us who know Orisha, all of the qualities that was just described here for Ogun, that is Ogun. He is, some people just call it brash, exceptionally honest, but sometimes abrasive and aggressive, and sometimes loud. And when I say loud in terms of, making your point very strongly. So all of those, so in many cultures, we become our name. right? And therefore, in Ogun, he did become his own name. So I want, again, I really want to sing some songs because this is a rejoicing moment, yeah? However we take it. But again, I can't be walking one road and the other road at the same time. So I want to sing at least one song for Ogun again, but I really want you to help me, right? So I don't even want to be the drum, I really want you to help me, right? So this is an easy song, right? Here we go, right? Ogun la la la, Ogun la la moche, Ogun la la la, se papa oje, Ogun la la la, Ogun la la, adanijo, Ogun la la la, se papa oje, Ogun la la la, Ogun la la, adanijo, Ogun la la la,
that before they come in other places. But they come using a different rhythm and a different vibe and a different mood of engagement. But as far as I am concerned, who or whatsoever he or it is, the supreme intelligence, make all of us with love and without fear, and that naturally, there are some people believe that human beings born in sin and shaped in iniquity. I don't. God, the source of all being and all goodness, could never make anybody in that form. You could become tainted and polluted after by not walking in the path of right and the path of light, or somebody throwing mud or sludge over you. But that's not how we came into the world. We came in all here with innocence. But with that innocence don't mean that we do have trouble to meet. Because some people also say to us that where we are at the moment, I think in mathematics it's called the quotient, the answer, right? It's 2 plus 2 equals 4. But sometimes the first part that goes, some people believe that it comes 2 plus 2 equals 4. But it could have been 5 minus 1. Or it could have been 2 plus 1 plus 1. And therefore, whatsoever is coming from, although we are arriving at the destiny comes called 4, how we will enter into that destiny comes called 4 will be dependent on the thing. I saw that I know it's pandemic thing, and this, the way we operate, I perhaps like your father, the way we operate from the heart, and we operate very emotionally. And so, it really is sad for me that in, what year we in? 2022, that as a people, even if it is not our way, that we can free our mind and free our bodies and our spirits. So I want to move on in a gentle way, right? But I just feel that, we're not here to be sad about his going. This sadness already gone. This sadness has gone in the illusion that this country and the world at large have some force that's bigger than God. That force so much bigger than God, they could tell the churches when to open, when to close, how much to gather, and whether you could get sick or not get sick. It is only supreme being and supreme power and supreme authority that can decide for us when and how we will come and when and how we will go. So kings and princesses and donkeys and dogs and babies, all of us will go. It doesn't matter your station in life, and that don't mean that you were necessarily bad or that you violated some principle or that some human authority has more authority than the authority that was ordained from time immemorial in various spiritual platforms, whether you call it Hinduism, Islam, Zoroastrianism, Orisha, Al-Kibulani, sacred science, Kemetic sacred science. The people who play parts in that rule of life have just as an important a role as those who learn some kind of political science and manipulation of the minds and resources of peoples and nations. But we give those things respect. And I speak in this slide because I said Imhotep. So the part that the daughter spoke about the Ogun part, but I'm sure he had an Imhotep part in it, a great builder, a sage, an architect. And sometimes when people talk about architect, and Ogun is a bridge builder too, right? So sometimes even this year, I bridge building at the moment. I trying to build a bridge between minds and consciousness, afraid of ourselves, lost in a darkness. That this thing that African people doing and beating all these drums and calling all these spirits and blowing rum and throwing food and killing fowls and animals is some demonic thing. Today is one of the days. I hope that you, Ogun, you empower me at this moment to break the shackles in the minds of those of us who are still afraid of ourselves. So I want to take another piece of conversation here. When Adai's son was born, he extended that reclamation. That is, Adai reclaimed for himself a name. But he extended that reclamation by name to his son. So his son, and I'm going to call the names that I have here, Roger, Ogun, Imhotep, Vialva. But I suspect that there are other names involved. Because again, today's world, the way we see marriage, we have inherited perspectives of life that makes us think that the nuclear family, a man married into a woman, that is family. And in fact, sometimes the way a man marries to a woman or a woman marries to a man, both ways it is almost as though the man has gained the woman as some kind of property where she loses her surname and her family name. And that's why in many Spanish-speaking, and these are European cultures, many European countries in the world, if somebody was a Vialva before and the marriage a Ramsey, and the woman name was Lucille, she would be Lucille Vialva Ramsey. They never threw away the old name. And the children that born carries both the surname of the mother and the surname of the father. And these things become very important. And today is a day perhaps we need to look at it. Because for those of us who have grown up under a Christian paradigm, we would realize that there was a promise to some people. And the promise was that some savior personality would incarnate. But the savior personality, it did not have to do with whether the person come from good background or good background. Because according to those times, the child was born in some stable, in some place called Bethlehem and in some place called Nazareth. And modern day people would parallel these things to what we call ghetto today. So that child was born in a ghetto, but also, if we look in modern day paradigm, the child was born without a father, because they didn't have a physical father that they could have looked to. Some guy called Joseph went to something, they had some kind of choose lots, and then they choose lots, and he had an opportunity to have Mary to go home at what age? Age 14 or thereabouts. So, today now they will call that child marriage. So we, in a time when, as we engage ourselves through the reclamation of our name, engagement with our culture and our cultural paradigm, and I'm not saying that any food in this country is less than another food or another one is higher than another food. But today, if you were to go on the internet and see what is the national food, you might call it the national food, but perhaps it has become the most popular food. It's bara and chana. And nothing wrong with bara and chana. It's good things. Chana, chickpeas are very healthy food. Perhaps the bara might have plenty oil for some people who feel oil bad, but oil not as bad as you think it is. At one point of time in Trinidad and Tobago, we used to use plenty coconut oil. And I was saying that the environment in which we always had to go and pick up coconut and we make coconut oil. But let me tell you something. There are some oils that are excellent for your health. And the way the world paints its narrative, it paints its narrative as though there is only one story of life. So, listening to Liseli recite and recall her father's engagement with life, she postulated in a sense that he may have been misunderstood by many. But it is the way and the difficult part that the Ogun personality has to walk life so that they might be able to clear pathways for others. So his name, he became part of the legacy of Adai in the extension of the reclamation of the name. And the very choice of name declared how much expectation that Adai had for his son. Ogun is a pathfinder and divinity of justice. Imhotep is a grand architect, a builder, a vizier, a sage, an astrologer. So one would expect that the passions of father and son may not have always coincided with family and friends. In a time when many of us held unfriendly attitudes towards ourselves and things like Kibulanis. So as we engage this ritual of remembrance here this afternoon, we ask the divine celestial intelligences to open gates and portals of light, of love, of peace, of serenity, of Iri, of Ashe, of well-being, of consolidation of the mind and thought of all of us here. So through our collective consciousness, we would be able to open the gates that would allow him to go to the paths of victory and the paths of triumph. Now, one of the names he carried, Imhotep, there was a high science of death that has become interrupted in the current engagement of time and space. The people who practice Hinduism in Trinidad and Tobago may have a closer appreciation and understanding of when you die. It's a certain amount of time after you die. There are certain hours after the breath leaves the body. At periods of time, people can be called back into their own body after they have expired here. And you know, for some of these people, it's hard to say to people, I have been fortunate in my life. I am not a rich man by material standards and by earthly standards, but I have sat among kings and queens, and I have been in many spaces and places where, you know, I remember, in a sense, picking up part of the thought of our sister Aisha. It would appear that as though this death, the burial period was long. I sent her something, and I know she didn't have time to look at it, right? But when she looks at it, she will understand it. On many places on the continent of Africa today, you very rarely bury before 3 months after you have transpired from your body. In many instances, a whole year passes before somebody that has been died, that has been buried. But it's hard for you to understand, meaning, especially hearing it from something, or sometimes you read it in a book, but reading it and experiencing it is two different things. I have experienced where I have even communicated with somebody that is not the body, right? So after a period of time, even when they bury you under the earth, for a certain period, you're still on the surface of the earth, and during that time, pledges could be made. And even when something was transferred to me in my hands by way of a ritual gesture, I could not foresee that I would become what the ritual item that was given to my hand made me. Today you would see on the outside of this that I'm the Alatushe, and maybe I missed out a word in writing it to the family. I'm the Alatushe Ogun Agbaye. I'm the Alatushe Ogun of all over the world. And the beginnings of that, I went to a funerary rite of an elder who had welcomed me to the continent of Africa and opened the gates for some of us to come and re-embrace our African self. And when he had died, and I went to his funeral, I was late to actually see the body interred in the earth. But he was still on the surface of the earth, and one of his sons took me to a seat. And when I say a seat, it's a place that where the father would come until all of that ritual was done, and handed me something in my hand. His father was then the Alatushe Odudua. I am the Alatushe Ogun. His father was then the Alatushe Odudua. And he handed me that symbol in my hand. And, I mean, I thought it was just out of due respect, and, you know, the fella come all the way from the Caribbean to the funeral. And he didn't get to see my father burial. So hold that. And I hold that, and years after, lo and behold, I too am an Alatushe. So sometimes there are some small things that look very insignificant in life, but in reality, they point to other things. So I'm going to ask those other persons in the audience who wish to say something good about Roger. But you know, sometimes the bad thing about funerals sometimes, right? Yeah, okay. Poetry first. Sorry about that. Yeah, so one of these bad things about funerals in Thai extent, and I think everybody here know the name Leroy Clark, right? Everybody know that name Leroy Clark? He's a national icon in Trinidad and Tobago. Some people mightn't believe that. One of the greatest artists in the whole wide world. You know, that's how the way I paint it, right? One of the greatest artists in the whole wide world. But I remember once an elder in the Orisha community had passed on, and everybody went and talked all kind of nice things. Little did they know that Leroy Clark and that fellow was very good friends, but very good friends not in the way they might think it would be. And when Leroy Clark came up, he said, that man is a scamp, right? and he didn't mean anything bad about it. He mean that there was another aspect of his life that everybody just try to miss out in funerals, and everybody want to remember that he was good, but sometimes you discuss something too, and it's part of your life too, and you have to include that so we could get a wholeness of your contribution upon planet Earth. So, but somebody want to celebrate his life with a poetry, and I want to call upon, she's here, right? Cleopatra White. Cleopatra, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. So this is a bit difficult for me. As most of you may know, I am Aisha's sister, and I have known Roger all of my life. And as we say in Trinidad, that's my toppy, that's my boy. I could always count on my brother-in-law for anything. So this poem is an eternal memory until we meet again. Today is full of memories of a brother laid to rest, and every single one of them is filled with happiness. For you was someone special, always such a joy to know, and there was so much pain when it was time to let you go. Our lives go on without you, but nothing is the same. We have to hide our heartache when someone speaks your name. Sad are the hearts that love you, silent are the tears that fall. Living without you is the hardest part of all. You did so many things for us. Your heart was so kind and true. And when we needed someone, we could always count on you. Those special memories of you will always bring a smile. If only we could have you back just for a little while. Then we could sit and talk again just like we used to do. You always meant so very much and always will do too. The fact that you're no longer here will always cause us pain, but you're forever in our hearts until we meet again. That's why this special message is sent to heaven above for the angels to take care of you and always give you all of our love.
So I just want to read some of the attributes of, it's a prayer to Ogun, right? But so that maybe people could understand what the Ogun spirit is all about, right? It says here, Ogun the powerful, strong enough to be the adversary to death, one who makes man prosperous. Who is not enriched by Ogun will be poor. Make us prosperous, Ogun. Support us. Ogun guide us to happiness. Ogun save us. Ogun great now and here, and great now and hereafter. Ogun, we hail you. So I want to stop on that little part about Ogun there, and as we move forward, we should be so many other songs we should be singing at this point of time. But that thing that I put with dust there, that is ashes. Yoruba sacred science contains all the cosmological potential in the world in a system called Ifa. And in that system called Ifa, we have what is the basis of modern day binary science and computer science that is used in that. And they have 256 portals or gates that the trained person can open. And when it is open, it can bring or it can carry. I have just placed on the coffin there, but it's really not on the coffin. You know, again, sometimes the world is illusionary. We're always looking at the immediate present for answers. But the real life is not at this immediate present level. Even the Christians know that. The one who was speaking to human beings upon the face of the earth, with regards to how you could communicate with him, says, perhaps he did not use the word transcend, but he said, when you come to pray to me, pray not so much with your voice here, but pray in spirit and pray in truth. And my understanding of spirit, it is transmaterial, and transmaterial could have plenty different meanings. But I perhaps might even want to call it pre-material. It was the thing that is and will be even when there is no material. Material will fade away, but the spirit will remain in a sense of perpetuity and move on and on. But again, we are told that in this life that there is transformation. So that in our system of mapping things upon the face of the planet, that gate that we use there is called Oyeku Meiji. It is the divine cosmic womb. And it is by those who are trained to use it, and those who are gifted to use it, but more important, by those who have authority to use it. You can send and bring through those portals. So at this moment, while we are here physically engaging you, I transcend the limitations of my mortal being. And I take all of the divine celestial tools and instruments, and I utilize them in a way that will awaken the spirit of Ogun Imhotep Roger Vialva, so that he may be taken to the appropriate portal in the next dimension. In the Kemetic sacred science philosophies, you would, after you have left the body, the first 12 hours of your leaving the body would be important, and there would be rituals done at those first 12 hours. And then you would start to go into the etheric world, so to speak, the nether world, the non-material world. And among the things you would go there, you would go seeking a seat in the field of those who have labored well upon the face of the earth. But you also had to take tests. The things that we know today as the 10 Commandments, in truth and in fact, came from something called the negative confessions, of which there were, and some people say 142, some say 140, but 142, 140, there were many negative confessions. And the negative confessions were wisely used by our elders in Trinidad and Tobago many years ago. When they wanted to curse somebody, put a spell on you and make sure, keep you in check. This is how they would start. I don't thief nobody foul. I don't do anybody anything bad. I don't bad talk anybody. I don't wish nobody try to fall down. All of those are negative confessions. I do not do. I don't know why they thief my fowl. The person who thief my fowl should break the foot. A couple hours after somebody break the foot. It's called a declaration of innocence. I didn't do anybody anything. And therefore, because I don't do anybody anything, and I command that their foot be broken, it should be broken. So as we live forward in this life, some of us under a kind of penance right now on planet Earth. And I hope that Ogun's going is clearing a pathway for us. That if you was fearful before anything in this country or anything anywhere in the world, to know that you are son and daughter of light, that our ancestors gave the world concepts of power and authority and taught us how to command into being the things that we desire through good character. Because at the end of the day, when you go through the Elysian fields and you have to arrive to a portal, so I'm going to do a ritual in a little while called the opening of the orifices. But when you go in that realm, you have to answer for yourself. Nobody else will answer for you. And your heart, while it might be an emotive center in Kemetic secret science, it was the center of memories. And your heart will go to the judgment hall of Mart, where your heart will be weighed against the feather of truth. And if it is not found wanting, it will enter into the place of blissful sitting down and accommodation. And one of the blessings, you know, some people when they go to the next world, they go into a place paved in gold. Some people go into a place where they could have many wives. You know, our own will song like we're drunkards, right? They're going to a place where we could drink beers and eat bread. So, as we perform these rites, the other world meaning of eating bread and drinking beers, may he be able to accomplish that. Ashe? Okay, so, let me see the people once again. So we'll move now to an open floor situation. So I think we're still going good because it's 2:26 and about perhaps 10 minutes I would be able to do the other few things here, right? So the open floor for anybody that wants to say anything that they think relevant at this moment about Imhotep, about Roger, about Bones, about Ogun, about any other name that you would have known him by. The floor is open for that, Asha.
And I fair to each and every one of you. I mean, welcome to each and every one of you this afternoon. As we come to celebrate the family of the Vialvas and the Whites, right, with the death of Ogun Imhotep Vialva Adai. Ogun was born in a time when we as Archibulan people, African people, were struggling to know ourselves because we was held in darkness for over 500 or more years to slavery. And when I took upon myself to free myself from the bondage of slavery, I took this name as the Chief mentioned earlier on, is a time when your name could have spelled a lot for you, doom or gloom. And I stood up between that time. My name at that time was Victor Likwai, right? Because my mother was Chinese, my father African. My mother and my father African. But I saw myself as an African. I couldn't see myself as a Chinese. But anyway, I went there, called me Likwai. You watching to see, they see a straight here. You're right. I didn't have that with me. I saw myself as an African and my father. And I took my name, Lisimba, meaning lion, Umuwali, meaning son that returned home, and Adai, meaning morning sun. At that time, I was struggling in union, credit union, in NJAC, fighting for the liberation of the minds of our people. So I had to give to my children a name that's supposed to give them strength and authority to stand up tall and proud of themselves. You know, they used to call me nigger, black, stupid, good, as they say. Right? Everything in darkness was evil and wicked and bad. So we had to come out of that negative vibration that was placed upon us. Though we still holding a lot today, until we go forward, we're going backward to me. right? So this is the time when he was born, and I give him that name, Imhotep, Ogun Imhotep. Ogun is the owner of steel and iron, of pathway, clan of pathway, to bring forth good things, bring forth new things, to bring forth things that will help us to grow and understand ourselves. And I give him the next name, Imhotep. Imhotep was the great builder in the days of Kemet, which we now know as Egypt, renamed Egypt. He was the builder of the pyramids, the great pyramids. We built it. And I wanted them to have some form of that kind of hope and strength and authority to know we are not what they taught us we are, but something greater than what they taught us to be something good. And I know he had the strength, and I know he had the courage and the determination. But each of us have our destiny. I have mine. Every one of us have different destinies. So he had to live out the destiny he chose, right? And he lived the destiny to the fullest. And he took a destiny almost like my father, right? I wouldn't mention go into that, right? Right? And he did what he had to do, and he lived the life that he had to live. And we all have to live our lives, but in living our lives, we have to watch at the results of our lives. Because this life, we are just the shells of the spirit. And as the chief was saying, when we reach other places, sometimes what they tell us what we'll go and meet is not what we'll meet. We are living here to ensure that we bring our spirit is fed with the food that will make it enriched to come back here when we're coming back as better, higher persons. We are not living here just for this life and we're dead and we go on. We have to come back. And how you live your life here is how you're coming back to start. So those who live good lives, they will come back and start from there. But those who live the life that is not the way they're supposed to will come back and start from there. Right? So all of us have to take check of ourselves. But so I give them those names, not only here alone, but all my children. I give each of them African name. The only one was born when I didn't yet understand myself who I was, my first daughter. And then I still give her a name, Nzinga. Right? Even though she didn't have that name on her birth paper, she was Nzinga. Then the other one was Jawanza. Right? And then the one else was Lisimba, one after me. And the next one was Makemba after a great poet and an artist who was in an NJAC, a teacher, an inspired person. I wanted them to get and understand themselves, to inspire them by the name. Your name shall give you was your strength. Right? And I named my daughter Kafi or Candace. Right? So all of them had names to uplift themselves. And at that time, it was a struggle for us. So he went through this struggle, and it was not as easy as now. And I pray that our children and our generations continue to walk this road of understanding who they are. And we teach our children to know who they are and be proud of who they are. Because we have a great role to play in this world, right? And we have to find ourselves. So I want to thank each and every one of you for being here, and especially the chief here, right, he's in this field for over 50 years. And he traveled all over the world under the Ifa Orisha pantheon of spiritual belief, carrying on ceremonies. And as he said, he went among many great people. And he's one of the eldest in the spirituality of Ifa Orisha in Trinidad and Tobago. So I pay respect for him, and I was under him for a little while, right? But there always there's one people, right? We came from the same village. His mother from the same village like myself. We are relatives, in fact, right? So I know that we are open one. This door that was opened here to him will be a door when he leave here and know that he'll be in a resting place. I did my little rituals for him, right? When he died, I had to do my rituals because I know to do my rituals. I'm not a priest, but I have my understanding, right? And I know his family is, his wife and children is pleased, and they will be happy with this ritual. So, right, I want to, on my behalf as well as my wife and my family behalf, I say thank each and every one of you for attending this ceremony, this of Ogun Vialva, Roger Vialva today. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe.
Okay, so as we attempt to go forward, is there anyone again to say anything here? Yeah. Yeah.
Good afternoon to all. My name is Crystal. I am one of Roger's colleagues. On behalf of the management and staff of TCM, particularly the roadside department, we extend our deepest condolences to the family and friends of our late beloved Roger. I have worked with Roger for past 1 year and a half, and his commitment and dedication he contributed to work should not be unrecognized. He worked hard, he worked every day, on his day offs, extra duty, and at times when he could, he would also start his shift before his rostered time. During this time where I would have known Roger, he shared a good relationship with Team B, which I am from, and my colleagues who are watching via the live stream, they can testify to this. Don't get me wrong with what relationship he would have shared with the other teams, but what it is I do know is that the joy he would have brought to our team was unspeakable. I can distinctly remember myself when I myself was under pressure. Roger would have messaged me on WhatsApp asking if I needed assistance. And when I'm taking too long to respond, he would call me on my cell phone. But for who knows, you don't ever get the opportunity to answer your personal cell phone while on shift. I would return his call via 3CX and he would say, I don't want you to get in trouble, so answer your cell phone. He will then say, tell your shift captain, Chantal, that I would be doing the job. He's not asking for the job, but he's demanding. And I would say, no problem, Roger that. He really made working with him much easy, and we all are really appreciated Rogers for the time he would have spent with us. So as your memories may live on, I would like to say this afternoon that heaven has gained another angel. Thank you.
Yes, again, other persons wishing to add their voice. So I know that everybody may not be able to add their voice physically, but our minds and our hearts and our souls, we can add voice. So we are coming closer to that period where we will do the important things that need to be done. And again, perhaps I would like you to learn something from what we are doing here. Meaning that even this what we're going on here with it have some illusions in it, right? Because sometimes you look here and you see one thing but other things could be happening. And it's an important thing, especially to the spiritual person, because sometimes some of us have sacrifice to give, and we give somebody that we believe is competent, and sometimes they are competent, but we're looking at this plane here, and then it looks like the sacrifice goes to where it's supposed to go, and especially where those of us speak to powers coming down in human being, and the power comes and say, me picnic, where do you think I asked you for? And you say, well, Baba, I give the priest to give it to you already, you know what I mean? And that means, and you saw the priest give something, but it didn't arrive. So it means that we should look not only with the eye of the material plane, but for those who have the authority and the permission and the lead and the wherewithal to see on the other plane, please open your eyes that you could see. So I'm going to do some things with the family. in many cultures of the world, so even the greetings today for this family would be a difficult one in time of our mundane culture. Normally we say in Trinidad when somebody died, condolences. But we would not really say to the children condolences on an occasion like this. We would actually say congratulations. It's a kind of a funny thing for you to say. But those of us who are well read, we may have heard of somebody called Confucius, known most often to us as Confucius. But when you say Confucius and you understand culture, you would know that is not who the world told us he was, right? So Confucius spoke of something called filial obligation. And Al-Kibulani's tradition pay a great bit of respect to that. Your parents bring you up and at one stage in life, and then the other stage is where you should give in return. So even when people go into the ancestral realm, you don't become ancestors immediately. For those people who are in the ancestral society, they sing, Arawukiki Ajuba, Arawukiki, Arawukiki Ajuba, Arawukiki Ajuba, Arawukiki, Arawukiki Ajuba, Arawukiki, Arawukiki Alaga, Arawukiki Ajuba, Arawukiki Ajuba, Arawukiki. Arau means the citizen of the heavenly realm or the next realm world. Citizenship, if you were born in your place of nativity, you're born in Trinidad and you go away to America, that don't make you American. You have to meet certain criteria and then you have to go for a citizenship kind of test. And once you pass, then you become a citizen. And now that changes the paradigm of interaction between species. So you come back to Piaco Airport, you're born here, but when you reach the immigration officer and you rest down your American passport, you say, and where will you be staying? So you start to get kind of high, but I'm born here, I'm going to be staying in Belmont. And when will you be leaving here? You know, because you want to know when you're leaving here now. Even though you were born here, your status has changed and your rights of engagement in this space has changed. So when he goes into the next world, should he be all the papers set up correctly, he will be able to come back here. So I won't want to go into too long with different things, but these are things I want us to meditate on. That when we die, we have the opportunity to engage our family in different ways, sometimes in dreams. Long time when we were mostly Catholics in Trinidad, they used to have something called a requiem mass sometimes. You might dream, the priest might tell you, I want you to say some prayers for me or something, you had some dream. And even the priest used to turn down that, right? They used to go and keep some prayers for somebody who supposedly dead already, either to help them or not help them, right? So I'm going to call the family here. Again, this is an adjustment because he was not an initiate. But if you could follow what we did here today, even entering into death is an initiation. Adai spoke about a group called the National Joint Action Committee, NJAC, and in that group they had several rites of passage, and one of they used to be mostly naming ceremonies at the time. But they would begin by saying that there are various stages of life: birth, childhood, naming, childhood, marriage, and death was one of them, right? But even to enter most groups in life, for example, even to enter into puberty on Al-Kibulan, you have to have initiation. Initiation is an important thing, and as he goes into the next life, this is part of the initiatory process. There are going to be some others, and just as when they make saints don't just come so. They have to go over a period of time and they check certain things and they qualify, and then you could call them saints. So we are going to do these for him. Remember, his children in particular and his son in particular. We are going to go around the coffin there. You know, again in our traditional diet, it's difficult for fathers to bury sons, even though some, that has happened, but we don't generally partake. I have had to partake in my own son transition, but so I'm going to call the family to do these things. But while I'm here, I'm going to say sufficient things that you could hear what we say in here, right? Sky here is cool and not cool. Here is cool and not valley. The iron radical of cool and not is not meant for human beings. We bring cool and not to avert death and to bring life. It is Ovid that said that it will die, that life might come. It is Ovid that said that it will die, that poverty may be pushed away from us and prosperity will come to us. It is Ovid that said that it will die, that all manner of negativity will leave us and all manner of goodness will come to us. As we break this cool and not, we do not remove the iron radical, we place it here. because I don't normally use them. All right, so afterlife situations in Al-Kibulani Sacred Science, we don't think that this is the end of life, but we don't also believe that spirit is just spirit being things that you could have like that there. You have to engage the spirit in a certain way. And we are going to have the concluding item here because we had the opening of the orifices there that just took place. And we are now going to have, this is underway, you have special here, right? Right, so special, we are going to have a song by his wife, Aisha, at this moment. Thank you.
Pleasant good afternoon, everyone. I would like to thank each and every one of you for coming to celebrate in the life of my late husband. I didn't think I could have pulled this one off. I'm going to try my best. He always used to call me the wedding singer because for what, not the wedding singer, sorry, the funeral singer. Because for whatever reason, I always had to, pull one out of the hat for some close family member or something that we have lost. But this one has hit home in a different way. And so I'm going to give it my best. Some of you may know the song. So if you do, you can go ahead and sing along. So I'm doing this a cappella, by the way. I have no background, so I'll do it a cappella. Would you know my name if I saw you in heaven? Would it be the same if I saw you in heaven? I must be strong and carry on, 'cause I know I don't belong here in heaven. Would you hold my hand if I saw you in heaven? Would you help me stand if I saw you in heaven? I'll find a way through night and day, and I know there'll be no more tears in heaven. Ooh, time can bring you down, time can bend your knees, bend your knees. Time can break your heart, have you begging please, begging please. Ooh, yeah, yeah. door. There's peace, I'm sure, and I know there'll be no more tears in heaven. So would you know my name if I saw you in heaven? Would it be the same if I saw you in heaven? I must be strong, oh, I must be strong and carry on, 'cause I know there'll be no more tears in heaven. Thank you.
So we thank you, Aisha, for the courage in completing your task. And although we have a saying whether sitting or whether standing, may Iwuri be heard. So, but we want to make this closing off so that anybody can now leave to go to its other place. So can we all stand for this moment, right? So I'm going to do a little part that we might still have to repeat it somewhere, but do for those earlier. Ajo, ajo, ajo nile, kiawa o, ajo nile. So, uno, ajo, ajo, ajo nile, kiawa o, ajo nile. Ajo, ajo, ajo nile, kiawa o, ajo nile. Ajo, ajo, ajo nile, kiawa o, ajo nile. Awa usoro ile wao. Awa usoro ile wao. Imale kupwe o, imale kupwe kama masoro. Awa usoro ile wao. Awa usoro ile wao. Ibagwe kupwe o, ibagwe kupwe kama masoro. Awa usoro ile wao. We shall fulfill our traditional rights. We shall fulfill our traditional rights. We shall fulfill our traditional rights. Nothing shall prevent us from fulfilling our traditional rights. We shall fulfill our traditional rights. We give thanks to Supreme Intelligence, to the 401 divinities, the Orishas, the Loas, the Netra, the Abyssum, all beneficent and benevolent beings, all beings that gather on the day of departure. We thank you all for allowing us to go safely on this journey. Continue to consolidate the minds and consciousness of those who are left behind, those who would continue to carry forward his legacy, those who would make the dreams that were yet unfinished finished, and those who would build from the greatness of the seeds that he has sown. May Orishan ancestors bless us all. May we live to fulfill our commitments here on the earth. It is so. Ashe. So for those of us who know, Joe, 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 Joe. Adupe. Quickly, but it will have to be quickly because it is now exactly 3, right? Right. Yeah, sure. That's why I say, you have to always be watching because it always looks like you have all the time. Yeah. Lad.